Oh, wrong hand. Wrong hand. This is the hand that goes here. Okay, there we go. Ooh. Look at me. Look at me in my new haircut. Look at me. I'm a sweet Adeline. Sorry, Ma. Anyhow, it's almost 3 o'clock. No rush. No rush. Hey, Craig. Nice to see you. It's a little bit warm today, huh? I got my got one of my many fans here. Get it, fans? I'm gonna move. Actually, I got a fan right here, so I think we got it. I see people coming in. This is awesome. Tuning up. I'm just literally going to put my fan a little bit, not this fan, but the electric fan a little bit closer to me because it's hot, wicked hot. Hey, welcome people. Welcome Retro Rovers. Maud Betty here in the bright and wonderful summer office, otherwise known as the Hacienda garage, right next to our vintage camper right here, which that place, the hot box, okay, in the summer, doesn't have AC. Anyhow, nice to see everyone. Welcome, and thank you for showing up on this very short or shortened, all killer, no filler, half-hour version of the Retro Roadmap Facebook Live. I think this is episode 28. Check it out. Hello, Jerry. So 28 episodes. I have been doing these Facebook Lives ever since we got back from Florida at the beginning of March and realized we couldn't go anywhere. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be fun to share some of the places that I love in each state? Well, this is a funny thing. I want to share this with you guys because this was like an aha moment, as they call them, that I had last week after last week's episode. I thought, okay, this is great. Oh, I forgot my map of the U.S. that I usually have here. But if you remember last week, we officially did all the states east of the Mississippi, plus another guy. And that is such a milestone. Like literally, like if we were on a road trip and we crossed the Mississippi, that would be kind of a crazy, awesome thing. So I did this thing, and as I have mentioned, I am writing a book called Just Drive Your Life. And it's all about having destinations, but enjoying the journey and treating your life like the ultimate road trip. And I love this concept so much. And then I realized, oh my gosh, you know what I've been doing? I have been like treating this Facebook Live a bit like this. And I didn't realize until last week that I actually do have a destination for this whole thing. And what that is I want to get through every state in the U.S. And that includes Alaska and Hawaii because they're states. I forgot, actually, I was only doing the continental. And then so I said, okay, well, how long will it take me if I do one of these per week? And I was like, oh my gosh, much like when my sisters and I drove from Massachusetts to, or tried to anyway, drive to Florida, and then we realized how big this country is, that it's going to take me, if I do one more, if I only do one of these a week, it will take me until after the new year to do all the 50 states. So I'm going to be mixing it up. I'm going to be doing, just so you know, in the summer, I'm going to mix it up a little bit, do some shortened episodes, not to give any short shrift to any state, but to make sure that I've got my eyes on the prize and we get to go to all the states. Because what happens if we stay in one state and we spend the whole time there and then we don't get to one and then I feel bad for it. So today is a shortened yet such a cool episode for Louisiana. And the reason, just really quick, the reason that it is the shortened version, and pardon me because I'm getting a hot flash. Oh, hey, check out, got my hair cut. Actually, here, how do I do that? Anyhow, is because it is Retro Road Husband's birthday. So we are doing some fun stuff, and I promised him and myself that I would, just leave myself open for this. So let's just hit the road, shall we? Because I want to make sure in this next half hour, Maud Betty tells you all her favorite places in the state of Louisiana. I always remember Louisiana because it's shaped like an L, or an L, as it were. We did Mississippi last week. And what we're going to do, because this is how I approach some states, and you remember this from like New York and things, is there are places around the state that I want to recommend, but then there's a city in New Orleans. I just gave it away, actually. A city in New Orleans. A city in Louisiana that I'm so excited about. New Orleans. I could probably spend the whole time in New Orleans, but there are some cool places. And Susan Nichols, thank you so much for the compliments on my do. Yeah, it's and funny how it's short, but it's long compared to what it used to be. But I like it this way. I think I'm going to keep it this way. Susan gave me some good recommendations for Louisiana, so we're going to hit the road. So where are we? So we're down around here. I might as well start way up here, Shreveport. Shreveport, there's a place called the Strand Theater. Of course, I didn't put my notes in the same order that I'm going in right now. But the neat thing about the Strand Theater in Shreveport, Louisiana, built in 1923, it is the official state theater of Louisiana. How cool is that? So it is actually part of that Sanger Brothers chain of historic restaurants, hotels, theaters that I didn't even know existed, and now I am just so smitten with that whole concept of these wonderful, grand old theaters that were kind of down south made by this chain. So the Strand in Shreveport, official state theater, it was the flagship, so it's very fancy. It actually still has its original theater organ, a Morton theater organ, which I think they may have at the one in Jersey City, but I'm not sure, like the Morton Wonder organ. Don't quote me on that. Please don't quote me on that. But they have an organ, and they were majorly renovated in the 1970s. Theater reopened, and they do live things. So if you love old-timey theaters and really grand old-timey theaters like I do, Strand Theater, Shreveport, Louisiana. Another place that I have to mention, and I totally meant to start out with this first, is a place that the first trip I ever took where we drove through Louisiana. This was a must-have. Like, it was if we only could stop in one place, and we did, we stopped at this one place, the Frost Stop, the Laplace Frost Stop in Laplace, Louisiana. Such a cool place. And the neat thing is about this, thank you, B. The thing that I love about the Laplace Frost Stop is that I found out about it because of social media. Way back in 2011, I started the Retro Roadmap Twitter feed, which honestly, I'm not on Twitter that much. I probably should be, but I'm not. And I discovered Terry Toller, whose family, she runs the Laplace Frost Stop, and her family does. Its Frost Stop is now it's a smaller chain, but it's a vintage chain of root beer restaurants. Used to have a ton of them. Now I think they have maybe 12 or 13. A number of them, over half of them, I think, are in Louisiana. And the one that I said I have to go to when we were going from Philadelphia to Austin, Texas, I said, we are making a detour, and we're going to the Laplace Frost Stop. Terry and her family own it. It has been open since 1958. And they have this wonderful mug. It's like, this is me. I'm going like mug, like a root beer mug. Huge sign. That's this giant root beer mug that's ringed in neon, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. If you just Google it, you'll see some beautiful pictures. They are here on the Facebooks and stuff. And I just love the fact that I knew about this place because of social media. And then I stopped in, and she knew I was coming, and it's like you end up meeting people that aren't really friends, but you kind of know them because of that. Maybe like how you guys would know me if, you saw me or something like that. But if you have one place to go to in Louisiana that is not New Orleans, then go to the Laplace Frost Stop, okay? Because that's my fave. So the second time Retro Road husband and I went to Louisiana, we actually had what we call like the worst vacation of our lives when we went to New Orleans. I will tell you all about the places that we went there, and it had nothing to do with, it was just like the signs were against us. But let me tell you about a few more places that are in the state before we hit New Orleans, because I want to make sure I tell you about some of the Retro Roadmap faves there. So we're in the state of Louisiana, and then this is one that Susan Nichols, you told me about, because I had put a little note on my map. The 3V, well, it's at the Magnolia Cafe in St. Francisville, and that's an adorable looking place that is a restaurant, and it does live music and things like that. But they have it's called the 3V Tourist Court, and it's basically like an old-timey motor court, where they have the little Monopoly houses that you can all stay in. This is a place located right in downtown St. Francisville. It's registered on the National Register of Historic Places, built in 1938. These quaint, they call them Bonnie and Clyde style cabins, have been fully renovated with all the charm and excitement of the 1930s. Hopefully not like bank robbers and stuff, but looks totally adorable. So not only does it look like a neat place to go and like watch live music and get something to eat, but staying in those little hotel, motel, Holiday Inn, those little cabin courts instead of like a boring beige brick hotel. I love that. So that is the 3V Tourist Court at the Magnolia Cafe in St. Francisville. And thank you very much for Susan for telling me about that. Another place we didn't get to go to, but I want to throw it out there for you. This is when we were heading from Philadelphia to Austin, Texas, is a place in Henderson, Louisiana called Pat's Fisherman's Wharf. The thing I love about this, totally independently owned by the same family, founded in 1948. And it's a great place for some of that good Louisiana cooking. They have a thing, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to pronounce this right. You know how I'm always mispronouncing things because it's kind of my thing, because I don't realize I read more than I speak in my life. The Atchafalaya Club is a place right next door to Pat's Fisherman's Wharf where they have Zydeco music and swamp pop. I love all the pops, but swamp pop. And then they've got all the good foods, you know, like etouffee, gumbos, shrimp etouffee, all that kind of good stuff. So that's Pat's Fisherman's Wharf in Henderson. Now, I haven't been there, but it looks like a place that Maud Betty would send you. So if you've been there, and if you have any places that you love in Louisiana, throw them in the comments section here. Like, remember how I said earlier about me meeting people because of the internet? This is the time for you to share your knowledge. So you may know some places, throw them in the comments. If you don't, you know, listen, and maybe Maud Betty will, you know, hep you to some place that is totally, sorry, somebody's outside. Focus. Zoop. So this was a neat thing. I did not know that Tabasco sauce is kind of like a thing. Like, I know it's a hot sauce, but I didn't know that the one that almost looks so iconic that when I say Tabasco sauce, you picture a certain bottle and a certain like label, things like that. So Tabasco sauce is made by the McElhinney family, and this brand was actually invented on Avery Island in Louisiana. Now, I don't really like the hot stuff. Retro Road Husband loves hot sauces. Like, when we go on trips, he loves to go collect them all. But I love the fact that this iconic brand is actually from Louisiana. It's made in the U.S., and it still has been since 1868, Tabasco sauce. Founded by the McElhinney family, and the company is still family owned and operated where it began. So I just love those, I guess you'd call them like heritage brands or legacy brands. You know, I just love when those things still survive. You can actually go, again, not because of the COVID, all bets are off as far as when you can go visit any of these places, okay? Reminder. But normally when they are open, you can do a factory tour. They have a museum, and they actually have a little cafe that I'm sure they have some spicy foods at. So that's the McElhinney Tabasco Sauce Factory Tour on Avery Island. And I assume it's an island, unlike Rhode Island, not really an island. Another brand, now this was a surprise to me, but I found out this because of wonderful Deborah Jane Seltzer and her Facebook, or her wonderful website, roadsidearchitecture.com, is Borden's Ice Cream Parlor. So Borden, you know, Borden, I almost started singing the Gloucester Gorton's Fisherman. Different brand, okay? But Borden's Ice Cream, and they have like Borden's has like the little cow, Elsie the cow, I think her name is. So Borden's used to be a family-run dairy farm in Lafayette, Louisiana. And the Borden's Dairy used to have a lot of these ice cream parlors across the state. Now there's only one left. It's Borden's Ice Cream Parlor, opened in Lafayette, Louisiana in 1940. And this one, while they don't make the ice cream there anymore, they do sell Borden's ice cream, and has all these great Elsie the cow decorations, and it's this vintage building and stuff. And I just think that's adorable, because think about it. Some of these brands that we all know not all of them, but are kind of have been around for forever. So you kind of forget that they started really small like that. Jerry, excuse me, I'm going to cough for a sec. That may be it. I think it might be Road Arch, A-R-C-H, but when you see it, you'll know you're there. So thank you for putting the link in there, Jerry. I appreciate that. Another place that I found out about, and while I didn't find out about it directly from him, I know that Len Davidson of the Neon Museum of Philadelphia, MPOP, would totally love this, because this is in that retro roadmap fun place of outsider artwork. The UCM Museum in Abbott Springs, and UCM stands for Useum. Waka waka! It is called Louisiana's most eccentric museum. John Preble is the artist at the Useum Museum. Used to be a canopy gas station from the 1910s, and it is pottery, art, old arcade games, southern memorabilia, miniature southern towns, found objects, all sorts of things. House of shards, broken tiles, and things like that. Strange alligators and fascinating things at every turn. Don't you love it when you go traveling and you see things you do not see anywhere else at home? Why would anybody want to go to a chain when you could see things you don't see at home? So the UCM Museum in Abbott Springs, Louisiana, that's a place on the Maud Betty list. Like when I was doing my little Google map about this, it started as like a little pin, and then I pretty much take the pin and almost like turn it upside down and make it into an exclamation point, because I'm so excited to go there once it is safe to go traveling. Safe, so we don't all die, okay? Wear your mask. So another place that I really want to tell you about, because I think we're going to get into New Orleans now, because again, shortened episode today, Retro Road Husband birthday, gonna have some fun, and also I think I might do shorter episodes, kind of keeps them peppy and snappy, you know, something peppy, something snappy, you know who I'm talking about. There's another Sanger Theater in New Orleans. Now this one looks absolutely beautiful, 1927, Florentine splendor. Picture it, Florence in Louisiana, built in 1927. It's got the domed sky, like when you walk into the auditorium, the ceiling is painted like the sky, and they have little twinkle lights that come on as it dims, so you kind of feel like you're inside but you're outside. And it's that wonderful escapism that they started, building these wonderful old school theaters back in the day, when everybody who could afford even just a crappy ticket to the movie theater could go and escape the day's problems. And Lord of mercy, can't we all do that ourselves? So that's the Sanger Theater in New Orleans. And then, yeah, it would only be right for me. I know, and here's the deal. I know there are plenty of other cool vintage places in the state of Louisiana. I will post more of them as I found out about them, maybe on Retro Roadmap. But this also just gives you a taste of what you can see when you go out there. But it would be foolish of me not to start to talk about New Orleans, because it is such a destination. So that was one of the things when we went through Louisiana and we stopped at La Place Frost Stop. We said, we are so close. That is so close to New Orleans that this is what I would recommend, is go into New Orleans, plan your time there, but take it like an Uber, or if you have a rental car, go to the La Place Frost Stop, because that's not fun. But then spend your time in the city area. Now, the funny thing is when we went to New Orleans, Uber wasn't even invented, so we had to take taxis and things, because we didn't get a rental car. And yeah, the taxi broke down in the middle of the highway on the way to our hotel. It was an adventure. But the great thing is that we look back on the crazy, crappy times we had there, because it was freezing cold. They shut the water down in the city, and so about that when we hit one of my favorite bars there, because it was like, what? So we lovingly say we had such an awful time there. We still had a great time, that we need a redo. We need to go back to Louisiana. We need to go back to New Orleans, because there are some places that we went that we want to go again, and there are tons of places that we didn't get to go to because we were only there for a short time. So let me talk about some of the places we were. So I figure this will give me a good excuse to take some of my iced tea. So we went to this place called, how's it go? Port of Call. So as you can see, I saved one of things here, because one can do in New Orleans is drink and walk with your drink in the road, like this. It wasn't a Pat O'Brien Hurricanes. If anybody ever has thrifted, you always see those glass drinks, glasses at like the thrift stores and stuff like that. But we decided, instead of going there, that the Port of Call had a little bit more kind of vintage charm. It was also within walking distance of where we stayed. I loved it. We went there twice because it was only built. It's young. It was only built in 1963. It's practically a baby. Established in 1963, steakhouse, and it's on Esplanade Avenue. They have, so when you're in, they have the Hurricane, the outside drinking. They have all sorts of crazy drinks that you can buy from them, and they give them to glasses, so you can say, Ossifer, I only had one, and ooh, they are strong. So what I would recommend, because this is what we did, is we went there not only for the drink, but their food is really good. We had some crazy, it is still a steakhouse. It's it's got a neat kind of like, and I say this in a loving way, like a bit of a local kind of vibe, kind of like, I want to say dive bar, but it's so much better than that. But that kind of like really homey kind of vibe that I was totally digging. Great hamburgers, great steaks, and if you're going to be drinking, you need a base. You need a base in your tummy. So that is Port of Call. And to this day, I use this drink cup often when I'm on the patio, and it just reminds me of good times we had there. Another delicious food. We could spend the whole time talking about the food in Louisiana, but this was one that I bet you probably never heard of, is the barbecue shrimp at Pascal Manali's, because, oh my gosh, they are so good. It is kind of a fancy restaurant, and it wasn't necessarily cheap. It wasn't crazy expensive, but just for those thrift-minded people. And it's not even really barbecue. What it is like this great combination of butter, got me on butter, salt, I love butter and salt, pepper, yep, a little bit of white wine, and then on these giganto shrimp that they give it to you, and then they give it to you in a bowl with all this delicious butter and wine and salt and pepper in it, and then you eat it kind of like, it's just kind of a mess, and then you get to sop up the juices with the French bread. It is so good and so delicious now that they give you kind of like a lobster bib, it's like, put on the bib, right? And you feel it's a bit of a social experiment, because if you want to try to be cool, you're like, I'm not wearing the bib, but then you see people getting stuff all over themselves, and then people are wearing the bib. So kind of like a mask, you look around for clues, and you're like, are people wearing bibs? Am I going to look like a dork if I wear my bib? Or am I going to look like a dork if I don't wear my bib? So much like your mask, wear your bib at Pascal Manali's, so you don't get some of that delicious sauce, and you get all the little grease stains, and you have to pre-treat, and you're on vacation. Who wants to do that? Highly recommended. There's another place, not vintage, but I would be remiss if I did not tell you about this delicious thing we had at Elizabeth's restaurant that we walked to from where we were walking. I get two words for you: praline bacon. Praline bacon, or praline. It's like candy-coated bacon. So good, so good. I heard about it. I put the place on my map. We went there, walked there, did not disappoint. Now, here's the fun thing about it. So we found out about, we got all sorts of recommendations when we were going down there. I put them all on a map, and we realized that Elizabeth's was close to us, so we walked, right? It was freezing cold. It wasn't supposed to be cold, but it was freezing cold. But then the neat thing is, because we walked, we actually found a couple of unexpected things on our way. So two of them I want to mention to you. Not necessarily retro road mappy perfect, but if you like record stores, Euclid Records. So you go to Elizabeth's, you get some praline bacon, and then you go record shopping at Euclid Records, which is I feel like it's a couple of blocks away maybe. And then, really cool place, if I had thought about it, I would have taken this sign off of my kitchen wall, because I got it there, which says, be nice or leave. Be nice or leave. It's kind of like hanging out in Maud Betty's world, kind of a rule. Well, that's because I got that sign from a wonderful artist called Dr. Bob, who I didn't even know existed, and then we walked past his building where he makes these signs out of like bottle caps and, you know, found art. And again, and I was just so smitten. I want to go back and get a bigger one because I think we need to be a little bit nicer, bit nicer nowadays. But Dr. Bob's is right near Elizabeth's, right near Euclid Records. They're all within walking distance. So those are some neat places that you can just discover on your own. We've got plenty of things. If you don't want to walk, take the streetcars. Oh my gosh, did anybody see the pictures I put either on Facebook or Instagram? I think both of them. But like this adorable little old-timey streetcar, you can actually take those to get around town. You know, it's an adorable way of traveling, and it's like a vintage way of traveling. You sit on the wooden things, you know, you pay your fare, and then you don't have to go walking. We did that. We went. That's how I think we got to Pascal Manali's, because we didn't have a car. But how exciting is it to explore without a car in a city where you can walk and take the things like that? So I made sure I told you about that. Yeah, this is a place I literally have. Ever see that guy who's like, eat the foods, eat all the foods? This is in New Orleans. You could eat all the foods. You can drink all the drinks. You see live music. The foods, gumbo, jambalaya, po' boys, muffulettas, all that kind of delicious stuff. You can have at many places. Drinks. I really had no idea what a wonderful destination for cocktails Louisiana was, or I knew that there were some places, and I'm going to tell you about two of them in just a minute, but just a couple of drinks that are famous because of New Orleans. One is the Hurricane. We talked about that. The other one is the Sazerac, which is very famous. Another one I didn't know about. This is a bit of a rivalry here. The Pim's Cup. So Pim's Cup, one of my favorite drinks, very light and refreshing. It has origins in the UK, but the Napoleon House Bar in Louisiana makes a version of it that they invented in the 1940s. So you can always go and, you know, kind of do a taste test if you want. So that's what that is. But here's a funny thing. So remember I told you about the crazy adventure we had in Louisiana and in New Orleans. So I was so looking forward to going to this bar, the Hotel Monteleone and the Carousel Bar. There you go, Jeff Cooper. You must have heard me talking about the Pim's Cup from the UK or from New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm going to have them both places. So the Hotel Monteleone is a wonderful, old, historic, fancy place. I would love to stay. I did not stay there, but you can still, like me, you can go to the bar there, and you want to go to the bar there because this bar is fascinating. It's a carousel bar. And what I mean by that is that the bar itself, not kidding you people, turns around in circles. Turns around and like a really slow record player. And you sit there and you can see everybody else is sitting in the other, you know, sitting on the outside, and you can see the world go by. So it's very famous. There's only a limited amount of seats there. So if you want to get a seat at the Carousel Bar, you have to alert bad humor. You have to jockey for position, because, you know, like carousel, you don't actually sit on bar stools. You don't sit on horses, but carousels have bars and jockeys and horses. That's what I was going for. Anyhow. Oh, Melissa Carlson, I did not know that you lived in New Orleans for several years. That is wonderful. So I'm talking about the Hotel Monteleone, the Carousel Bar, and the thing that killed me about this was, so we went there, and there was something wrong with the water in the city on our last day there. And so we get to the fancy bar. We're going to have a nice cocktail. We get seats at the fancy bar that's turning, and they say, yeah, we're not mixing any cocktails today because they've shut down all the water and we've had to throw out all our ice. So I sat at the Carousel Bar at the Hotel Monteleone and I drank a bottled beer. So it was kind of hysterical and funny. And we just had so many things that went wrong on that trip that we just ended up laughing about it, because it's just like, okay, what next? Like, it didn't ruin our time. We had a great time, and it made us say we have to go back and do it right. So that is one of the places that I want to definitely make sure you know about. What else? Ooh, you got to go to, I mean, this may be kind of one of those touristy type places. If you go to Cafe Du Monde to get beignets, you know, kind of like the deep fried doughs and whatnot, you are going to get, boom, like confectioner sugar all over your place. So I highly recommend you don't wear black. Don't be like a goth person trying to eat the beignets, because then you'll just look like, you know, you've got splatterings of sugar all over yourself, you know. But it is such a delicious thing to do. It's such an iconic thing. And the wonderful thing about Louisiana, and especially New Orleans, is the fact that you can walk so many places, or stumble if you're drinking too much while you're doing things. And you have to watch that, because one of these will last you all night. And if you have something else and this, you're going to be like, oof. You're not going to remember, actually. That's the thing. You're not going to remember where you were, and you're going to miss some things. So I realize we're getting a little bit short on time, because as I said, a little short episode today. I may continue to do the short ones to just kind of cram in all the good stuff, because I know everybody's time is precious. Today is Retro Road Husband's birthday, so we have some plans. But one place I want you to seek out, if you go to New Orleans, you gotta check this place out, because I'm fascinated. It's the Royal Pharmacy, right? So there's a picture of it. Listen to me. I'm looking at in my head. I'm looking at the internet. There's a picture of this wonderful old-fashioned Coca-Cola sign that I posted on Facebook and Instagram today, and that's from the Royal Pharmacy. And here's the deal. I don't even know if this place is open. It's so fascinating, because we saw it all lit up. Like the sign was lit up as we are kind of stumbling home back to our pied-à-terre that we were staying at. And we're like, that is like out of a time warp. Like, it just looked so old-fashioned. Like, we looked down the street, we saw the sign, we saw the lights on it, and it was like, what the heck? When we go there, we go down the street, and it's closed, but the lights, there are some lights on inside, and you like peer in. Listen to me. You peer in, and you're like, what's going on in there? And it's still a pharmacy, and it's still a place they had like paperback books and, you know, a candy section and all this stuff. It's on a corner, and from what I've heard, it still is open, but very random times. And I kind of feel like it might be a portal into another dimension. I don't know, maybe I've been watching too much Korean soap operas, but it's just a fascinating place. So if you're in New Orleans, this is kind of on the far end side of Bourbon Street, down in that area, kind of near the Esplanade-ish area, because that's where we were. It's within walking distance of Port au Call. Go check it out and see if they're open, because it looked like one of those places that's just the Maud Betty, like the step back in time, like preserved in amber, like it doesn't even know that all its other friends have gone extinct, and it's still holding on with that original kind of vintage charm. So, yeah. So that are Maud Betty's tips. Those are some of Maud Betty's tips for the state of Louisiana, though you know there has to be a lot more. Laplace Frost Stop, Louisiana, like New Orleans, eat the eats, drink the drinks, listen to the live music. As I know, you can't be doing a lot of safe traveling right now, so please, oh please, use these as inspirations. Write them down, the places that I spoke about. If they get you all excited and be like, yay, I want to go there, write it down, and when it is safe to do so, get there. But until then, Maud Betty signing off until next week. I may be playing with doing 1 or 2 episodes per week, shortened ones. If I shorten them, I'll try to do 2, because I want to get to my destination of doing all 50 of these before like Christmas. So sometimes it's one of those things, like when you're on a road trip, you get your eyes on the prize, and sometimes you can't stay at all the places. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I love that I'm able to still share these places. And remember, the only way that you get to where you want to go to is to get behind the wheel and steer your life towards it. So Maud Betty saying, just drive your life, and I'll see you next week, if not sooner.